Welcome back to DecentraLounge, brought to you by GlobalStake, your truly decentralized SOC 2 Type 2 certified institutional bare metal blockchain infrastructure provider. I'm your host, Ryan Hazinski, head of protocol partnerships, along with my co-host, Wyatt Clancy, our VP of growth. On this episode, we're joined by Cormac Daly, the founder of Nashpoint, a platform rethinking how digital asset management is designed and delivered on chain. Cormac comes from a multidisciplinary background in finance, engineering, and product development, and has spent the past several years building at the intersection of usability and self-custody, helping solve one of the biggest challenges in Web3 adoption, making crypto feel less like a puzzle and more like a tool people can actually use. His latest venture, Nashpoint, is a smart contract protocol that enables asset managers to independently create and manage fully diversified on-chain investment products. These products, called nodes, package customizable strategies, asset mixes, reserve ratios, management fees, and rebalancing rules into a single seamless structure. Users can simply deposit through standardized ERC interfaces, while everything from execution to liquidity and rebalancing happens behind the scenes, securely governed by the protocol. Today, we'll dig into Cormac's path into the crypto industry, why usability and trust still hold back mainstream adoption, and how Nashpoint aims to bridge that gap. Cormac, welcome to DecentraLounge. Why don't we just start off with your history and how you got here in this crazy, wild world of Web3?
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan, for the amazing intro. And yeah, great to meet you and Wyatt today and talk to you. Thank you, guys. So yeah, just like a little bit about my background, how I got to Nashpoint. I've done a whole bunch of like different stuff over the years. I guess the first kind of like grown-up type job I had was straight out of college. I worked very briefly for the Irish government right around the Eurozone crisis. So it was really interesting showing up and work every day, and people were genuinely wondering if the European financial system was going to collapse that day in work. So that was like a really amazing way to get introduced to this crazy world of finance that we're all working in. And then after that, I pivoted and did a whole bunch of different stuff before eventually coming back to finance via crypto. And in 2020, I started working with the Index Cooperative. They are a DAO, like a real kind of like DeFi summer 2021 project, working on, I would say, ETF style products, like early DeFi ETF style products. So I think one of the big hits early on was DPI, which was a diversified basket of like the DeFi summer DeFi protocol governance tokens. So I was working with this team, working on these kind of products, and for me, it was just so obvious that this is the future. While the technology that we had at the time was not quite ready, well, definitely like very far away from being ready for like mainstream adoption, I could see that if you can solve all of these problems, if you can give people confidence in smart contracts, if you can work to onboard these bigger institutional clients, it makes sense that all of finance is eventually going to come on and operate in these, super liquid, super efficient on-chain structures. So at that point, I decided to focus on my own startup, and that's when I left to build Nashpoint. At the time, I was not a smart contract developer. I was just like a kind of a hacky data scientist type guy, and I had to do a lot of work to get the right really to try and build something like Nashpoint. But over time, I got there. Got the protocol built, got it audited, negotiated a grant with the Arbitrum Foundation, who back us and with an investment as well. We worked really closely with that team. We brought the protocol to live on chain during the summer, and then right now we're gearing up for like our real GTM. So like we've got like a number of like amazing partnerships. We've got this amazing product that we're going to bring to market in Q1 this year, and yeah, it's just a really, really exciting time for us.
Awesome. Congrats on all the work, especially the big partnership with Arbitrum. So, and of course, they legacy, big name in DeFi when it comes to sort of the first L2 to market that dominated that space. Well, let's dig into Nashpoint. I mean, tell us about, sort of the vision behind it, why you architected the way that you did, what kinds of things are coming down the road in this part of this go-to-market launch, and just let the listeners and viewers know more about Nashpoint at its core.
Yeah, absolutely. So like the goal for Nashpoint and like what we're building towards is to be the orchestration layer for tokenized finance. So I 100% believe that all financial assets will be tokenized. Some assets, it's going to be really, really, really immediate and really obvious. like stuff like tokenized debt, tokenized equity. We see how this can be done today, and it's literally just a matter of time. It's a matter of like regulations and confidence by the large incumbent players and deciding that they're actually ready to do this. But we are very close to a point where all of these kind of like immediate, highly liquid tokenized assets will be available on chain. Now, what that's going to look like is going to be really, really messy, right? Like there's a whole load of teams that have been working in tokenization. Large institutions are doing this stuff internally. You have specific tokenization platforms. They're all doing things ever so slightly differently. There's different sorts of legal protections for the token holders. There's different smart contract standards. There's different liquidity capabilities for the teams that are operating them. It is, it's a fragmented and chaotic ecosystem. Nashpoint is this like basically one-stop shop that is designed to unify all of these different assets as they come on chain and make them available to people in like essentially just really simple vault infrastructure. So, we don't think of ourselves as a vault protocol. We don't think of ourselves as a yield optimizer, but there are just good ways of doing things on chain. And using like standardized vault interfaces means you can very, very quickly build products that other teams can build on top of, that they can build into their existing technology and scale your business really, really efficiently. So right now, we have our core protocol deployed, and we've built a number of integrations to these different tokenization platforms. The first one we built was Centrifuge. They've been amazing technology partner to work with. They were like really the team that was like willing to go along with us as we figured all of this stuff out. And like we love working with those guys. Our whole team is fantastic. And then in recent months, we have done another partnership with DGFT. They're a tokenization platform based out of Singapore. So, everything on their protocol, everything that they work with a number of like leading asset managers like Invesco, UBS, all these massive tier one teams. Hypothetically, all of those products could be brought into a Nashpoint vault at some point. And then our latest partnership that we've just agreed is with WisdomTree. So WisdomTree is very exciting. They're an SEC regulated US asset manager. They manage 100 billion assets. Again, I would say they're a team that are phenomenal to work with. And they have been very quick to see the value of tokenization, very quick to see the value of tokenizing their own assets. And they're open for business, essentially, for teams like us. They want to get integrated into DeFi. So all of these different funds, essentially, all of these different tokenized assets are ready to be used in Nashpoint today. And then what we're going to do in the next couple of months is bring to market this vault that I mentioned, this kind of diversified product that's going to allocate to a number of different assets. And then after that, work with different teams, work with centralized exchanges, neobanks, fintechs, any team that wants access to traditional capital markets, any team that thinks, or any team that knows that they don't want to risk their user capital in unregulated DeFi. They want professional asset managers looking after their collateral. We can work with those teams and build out those integrations and essentially give them whatever they need for their treasury management, for their savings products, anything like that.
Could you, for a second, walk us through your interactions with the more traditional finance firms that you're discussing and kind of how that has changed over time throughout building this product as well? I think it's, obviously everyone talks about this year like being the year where traditional finance and crypto meet, and how has that experience been for you?
Oh, so exciting. So I'm actually going to jump back just a little bit further and just tell you about some stuff in 2022 when I was still at the Index Cooperative. So we had the structure for doing these on-chain ETF style products, and our business development team was working to onboard some of the world's largest asset managers. And I'm not going to name names, that's that team's business, and I'm no longer with them. But there was some very serious conversations happening with some very large players, and they were trying to figure out, what were we doing? How does it work? Can they use it? Can they start to access our products? Can they distribute our products off chain? So the whole playbook that we saw with the Bitcoin ETF in recent years The biggest asset managers in the world were looking at doing stuff like that with DeFi assets a couple of years ago. And, I think you can guess what happened next with the timing, but, a lot of these conversations got pretty far, and then FTX collapsed, and it just sucked all the air out of the room. And like these relationships that you'd negotiated over months and, put a lot of work into, your counterparty in that organization just made it pretty clear, like there's just nothing I can do right now with this environment. It's far too toxic for them to touch anything in the crypto space. And so that's like 22, 23. Obviously, we experienced this whole bear market and everything since then. The situation that we're in now, I mean, it couldn't be more different. I will say the largest, obviously, all of the largest asset managers in the world, all of them are tokenizing their assets and bringing them on chain. They're tokenizing their funds and they're bringing them on chain. And they won't stop there. They're going to do a lot more than that. This is the first step. This is them, dipping their toe in the water. We're looking at 30 billion total of, depending on how you count it, but around 30 billion of tokenized assets on chain today. This is obviously, an incredibly small number relative to the stock of assets that can come on chain. And all of these asset managers, they understand that this is the future. And, the strategy right now is just tokenize it and figure out the business model later. Like just get in this game, start to establish yourself, start to build out those integrations, figure out how it works. For a team like us, for I would say, like, I wouldn't call us a DeFi protocol, but like we're a crypto native team. We come from crypto and kind of build towards traditional finance via tokenization. This is an amazing opportunity. These teams do want to talk to us. And to give like the example, like Wisdom Tree, we just did like a couple of months working with them. They were, a couple of months working with them so we could get onboarded to their protocol. They were incredible to work with. They understand the space. They have extremely sharp people working on their teams that, are pushing to get stuff done. They ask a lot of questions. They ask a lot of good questions, and you have to like talk them through some of the systems that we've set up and, why they're safe, and explain stuff to them. But they listen and they figure it out, and they want to act, they want to move. So I would say the will to engage with, maybe us in the coming from the traditional crypto space right now, it's never been better.
Yeah, I think when you brought up Centrifuge earlier, we work with Centrifuge here at GlobalStake, and one of the things that I think that they've been so ahead of the curve on is working with TradFi, and like they have the partnership with Janice Henderson. They're bringing on, to your point, structured debt on chain. They blew up their TVL to over $1 billion, and one of the things that I think, and granted, these issues may be worked out because we're recording this, but right now, here in the United States, they're discussing the Clarity Act. And one of the big sticking points is that there's not, the banks don't want the ability for stable coins to just earn that yield directly. And I can't help but wonder if part of your design and thinking about this whole world as everything does become tokenized, Cormac, is that something as simple as safe as Nashpoint, if you can't passively earn that yield, there's probably no better way to just lock it up in a vault through Nashpoint where you're going to get access to those regulated yields. Because a lot of times you can't access these funds if you're not an accredited investor and you're not deploying like $500,000 or more. So I think that was there some element of that you were going for in terms of the democratization of TradFi for everyday users who may be already in the crypto space and are native?
Yeah, this is it. The key word is democratization. And it really is this opportunity where you can take, like, as everything gets tokenized, like there's already an incredible variety of assets that have been tokenized and you can be used to build amazing portfolios and give access to people across the world who've never had access to these kind of financial services before. That's literally happened now. So we've kind of crossed that threshold. We've moved that over to a window, and that will accelerate in time. And then like where like Nashpoint can play a role here is, where you have, either like fully on-chain users who prefer to store their capital, who are very comfortable doing stuff on chain, who are happy to work with a vault curator to be their asset manager or to allocate to a vault that's curated by a Gauntlet or a Stakehouse, for example. They can use our technology. They can use our technology to get access to those regulated funds, to get access to those, to get access to all of those different opportunities that are away from DeFi, remove some of the risk, remove some of the volatility, and obviously on-chain is a global marketplace, so that is available to absolutely everyone. And then the other place where we think we can add a huge amount of value is going back to what I was saying about working with neobanks, fintechs, digital wallets. All of these teams are we see this huge trend at the moment where as well as tokenization becoming a powerful force in finance, traditional consumer apps migrating to stablecoin rails is equally massive, and it's actually like a lot further along. And once you have your customer base, if you're a fintech, if you're a neobank, if you're a wallet, once you have your customer base, you've done all of your hard work to bring them on chain, and you've done all of that. The last thing you want to do is plug back into the banking system and deal with all of that stuff again. So we basically provide this really simple, elegant interface. We build them their custom product, and then within that, is it something really vanilla? Is it just like treasuries? Is it something a little bit more high risk? Do they want to take a more active role in managing their portfolio? Do they want to hire do they want to hire a risk curator outside of us because they've got a preferred partner that they already work with that they want to manage this portfolio for them? We can do all of that and then pass on that access to this like deep traditional capital to all of these users, or this next billion crypto users who maybe won't even know they're using crypto.
Yeah, one thing that I'm wondering, you sort of already touching on some future trends of where this is all going in the path of tokenization and everything else. What is on the roadmap for Nashpoint? Like, how are you thinking about the future? It seems like you alluded to maybe doing things like partnering with wallets as they bring people on chain, or these neobanks, which is definitely going to be the talk of 2026. We talk about neo finance all the time. So is that sort of where you're going to take Nashpoint, is just making these integrations more seamless, or what else is coming up for this year and beyond?
Yeah, brilliant question, and you're completely correct. Like this is our focus. We are we're an institutional facing entity. We want to go and work with these teams. They're our target. We want to understand where their pain points are, what they need access to, where we can make their life easier, and build all of that stuff for them. Like, we have a core platform that is audited, it is rock solid, it is doing everything we need to do on the asset management side. The important thing now is like, how do we make this like really accessible and elegant for these teams to plug into their existing systems? Because you have to meet these, these entities where they are. They have inertia, they have invested a lot of time in building the technology that they have. So our roadmap next year, we're going to build a few more integrations to tokenization platforms for sure. Like, we want to offer a variety of assets, but a huge amount of our energy is going to be directed to, we're early. I'll say that we're like totally early. But acquiring these early customers, understanding their needs, building out the systems that they need to operate with us, and then scaling those systems to hundreds and potentially thousands of companies.
Well, great, Cormac. Thank you so much. We're bumping up right against that 20-minute mark, but wanted to ask, for the viewers and people listening, where they can find more about the company, yourself, your socials, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, the best place to follow us is our X account, or I always have to stop myself from saying Twitter, but just Nashpoint at Nashpoint on X. That is where you're going to see all the latest announcements. If you go and dig around on our website, www.nashpoint.fi, you'll get access to our Telegram group. If you want to be a bit more of an insider and kind of get access to some of us in there, you can talk to me very directly in there. We're happy to talk to anyone. If you're more on the integration side or the development side, all of our code is open source. You can go and read our GitHub. Ping me on Telegram, ask questions. We're very happy to talk to anyone who wants to learn more about us.
Well, I personally hope that I get to meet you at one of the RWA summits, because these are flagship events that I'm sure you know are hosted by Centrifuge. And it's something that, for those who are watching and listening, definitely we'll have those socials linked so that way you can get in touch directly with Cormac. I'm personally going to jump in the Telegram because I want to continue to pay attention to what you're building. I'm very interested in this. I think that this is sort of the sleeper hit in the crypto space right now, because people look at TradFi or they look at things like this and they might think like, oh, it's boring, it's vanilla, I'm only earning my 4% or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I think you're tapping into a huge need with just a very targeted market and opening up and democratizing the ability for everyday folks like me, like Wyatt and others to just get involved and deploy some capital very seamlessly across these vaults. So Cormac, thanks for taking the time. For those of you who have been watching or listening to today's episode of DecentraLounge, again, we'll link all of those ways for you to get in touch with Cormac Daly and the Nashpoint team. And of course, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us for another episode. We'll see you on the next DecentraLounge. Until then, take care, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Wyatt. Take care.